back to the ever popular, getting more ever popular, with all due respect, blog. I know you people have been just dying for the next episode of this moronic effort of mine, but here it comes. But before I start with whatever my story is going to be, and of course I know what it is, but before I start with my story, I want you to, if you're enjoying this, hit subscribe. I have no idea how you do that. It's just that every YouTube video that I watch with people trying to sell something always say, well, if you're enjoying this or you really like it, hit subscribe. I don't even know what it means, but whatever. I just had to say it. Okay, so today is about trying to do my civic duty some 15 years ago. I, like a lot of people, from time to time get a notification to report to jury duty. Not everyone's idea of a great notice to get in the mail, but nonetheless, all of us as citizens from time to time get one. And this goes back again, I think 15 years, maybe even more than that. And sure enough, I'm living in Marin, and I get from the Marin County court system a report or a letter that says I need to report for jury duty on a Tuesday or whatever it was. So off I go. Now, I had been many times to this and was fortunate enough to always be dismissed. You go in, you sign up, whatever, they give you a number. And then they start calling off numbers. If you're not within, 50 to or 60 to 100, you're dismissed. And then, the last 60 people. And then sometimes they have another round and, they get down to that. And I'd always been very lucky, even though I always wanted to serve on a jury. I never had the time to do it, okay? I was a pretty busy guy. I was just so busy. Anyway. But so off I went, and I assumed, well, this will be like the last 5 times, and, I'll get dismissed, and I'll waste a morning, and then that'll be it. Well, unfortunately, they wind up calling 2/3 of the numbers, and I'm not one of those numbers. So I'm like one of the last maybe 20, 25 people there. And I'm thinking to myself, geez, here we go. I don't have the time. I want to serve, but I don't have the time. I'm so busy. Anyway, so there's 20 of us left, and the person running the whole jury room said, okay, now I want the people that are left to follow me. We're going to go into a courtroom, and I don't know why they did this, but they wanted us to, I think they may have been just trying to get us out of the jury room because they had another bunch of people coming in that afternoon, but whatever. They took us out of there. And they put us in a courtroom, and they told us that there was going to be a session of court, not with a judge, but with a magistrate. Now, I've never been able to figure this out, but I guess maybe this is a preliminary thing before it gets to a judge or before the crime gets charged or whatever. But they take us into this the chambers and have us sit with where the spectators would sit. And they told us, just sit here and, you don't need to say anything, just observe, and we'll be back at the end of this. So none of us knew what the hell was going on, but we were given these instructions, and sure enough, there we were. So in walks these 2 prosecutors. They're sitting on the right-hand side, and they look like they got out of law school probably the Monday before. A week before, okay? Very young, very, very young, dressed very conservatively, a man and a woman, okay? Probably, if I had to guess, they might have been 24 years old. I don't know. What do? You go to college for 4 years, you go to law school for 3 years. Honestly, if these guys were 23 or 24 years old, there were a lot. But the briefcases and the, very upright stance and the whole thing. And in walks the magistrate. Now, the magistrate is, he's in judge's robes, but he's not a judge. He's a magistrate. And again, someone who has some knowledge of this would probably say, well, you moron, he's the guy. Well, I don't know this. Okay. So anyway, this guy's the magistrate. He's not a judge. And then in walks the defendant. Now, the defendant comes in with his lawyer. His lawyer looks like, he's got the really bad corduroy fitting suit on, okay, with a mismatched tie and a beard and long hair. And following him is the defendant. And the defendant is a fairly swarthy-looking gent. Tattoos all over him, his arms and his neck, and, hair down to his waist, and whatever, okay? Not a real upstanding guy in the community who may have gotten caught in, something that wasn't his fault, okay? Right away, here I am making judgment, and I'm supposed to be just sitting in the back not saying anything, which I wasn't. But I thought to myself, yeah, put me on a jury, okay? And this guy walks in, whatever. Anyway, so here's the deal. So the prosecutors, these young folks, and I think it was the guy. Anyway, he stands up and he reads off what this gent is being charged with, okay? And it is a laundry list of charges. Driving without a license, speeding, drunk driving, being caught with drugs in his car. And incidentally, this list goes on, and P.S., this is all within the last 12 months, okay? This is not what you'd consider to be a real upstanding citizen, okay? And anyway, the prosecutor reads off all of these, or the DA, prosecutor, yeah, he's probably the DA. Anyway, he reads off, these guys had to be the assistant DA, but anyway, maybe they were training as well. But anyway, they read off the charges against this gentleman, and the magistrate turns to the guy's lawyer, okay, who I think was, pulling his hair back from his ears. But anyway, he says to this lawyer, he said, well, now how is your client going to respond to this? And he said, well, Your Honor, he said, my client wants to respond directly rather than through me. So the magistrate says, fine. Looks over at the defendant and said, well, how would you plead to these charges? And the guy looks at this magistrate and he said, not guilty, Your Honor. I'm not guilty. Incidentally, the last charge on this guy was had been 2.5 weeks ago, okay? So this isn't like this guy lost his memory on this, all right? Anyway, I'm sitting in the back, and, we're 20 people back there, okay? When this guy shouts out, not guilty, Your Honor. I am not guilty, it's charged, or whatever he said. I gave it the old, ha! Out loud. Ah! Oh, my God. I mean, the people around me turned and looked at me. The DA, the lawyers, the bailiff, the magistrate, they're all looking at me. And, I kind of gave myself up because I know I was totally guilty in doing this. And so I give it the old, I'm sorry. It was inadvertent, whatever. Oh, shit. Oh, my Lord. Next thing you know, the magistrate is calling the bailiff up, okay? And they're huddling, and you're pointing back at me, And again, the people next to me are kind of still looking at me like, what is wrong with you? And I didn't say that out loud, but I could tell by their expression, and I kind of like, sorry. Anyway, here comes the bailiff walking down the aisle, and he's pointing at me. Hey. So I'm like, I don't know, 6 seats in or whatever. Excuse me, and everybody's got to put their legs in, I'm banging against people trying to get out of the row. And now, I get out there and the bailiff says to me, yes, sir, just follow me, All right. So now we're walking out, and I'm saying to the bailiff, look, it was inadvertent. I didn't really mean to say it. It was just, it was a reaction to this guy. No, he said, hold on. So he walks me back into where they had assembled the jury to begin with. And he walks up to the lady's desk, and I'm standing behind him, and he says, yes, Mr. Salvador's card here. He gives me my name or whatever. And she's going through the thing. And she pulls out the card, and she gives it to the bailiff. The bailiff writes a little something on it, and he gives it back to the lady, and he says something to her, and I don't know what he said, but he gives it back to her. And he turns to me, and he goes, okay, you're dismissed. I said, what? He goes, that's it, you're done. You're done. Hey, not the ideal way to get out of a jury appearance. But there it is, as true as I'm sitting here. Anyway, another crazy story from my crazy life. Oh, and by the way, I know you're out there. I can hear you breathing.